Hey guys, it's Bobby Roast Beef here with the 10-second podcast. Got a lot of things going on right now. This is kind of a new shape up, and we're putting together something interesting here for you. Plus, I'm going to talk about why the tournaments went away and exactly what it is that I have in mind and what needs to happen before this can all go down. Guys, welcome to the 10-second podcast. We'll be back right after this. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here, your favorite speed quizzing trivia host. Well, at least if you're in the Pioneer Valley anyway. Welcome, everybody. I am creating this episode sort of as like a fresh start for this show. The 10-second podcast has sort of been around for a little while, and primarily it was targeted for other speed quizzing hosts as a tool for myself and Bill, my partner with Speed Quizzing USA, who we offer tech support, sales, and basically all kinds of different support for hosts all over the country, whether they're starting up or they've been doing this for a while and they run into some issues. We're here to help out. So the previous episodes have all been about that, which is fine. That's great. The thing is, we haven't done a whole lot with it lately. It's been kind of just sitting here kind of stale, and I would love to just put some new life into the show and accomplish a couple of things. So I figure that everything, since it's sort of all speed quizzing together, I'm just going to go ahead and put the show out there and talk about my games and my experiences and things like that. And then when Bill and I have something to talk about, we'll have him come on and we'll go ahead and do that. So anyway, everybody, welcome to the 10-second podcast. Let's get started. I'm assuming that our listeners that either play my regularly scheduled trivia games, my speed quizzing events in bars and restaurants in my local area, that probably are not going to go back and listen to some of this earlier stuff. So let's talk about like what this show is all about. This show is all about really anything I damn well want it to be about. We're going to talk about categories and plans for future stuff. We're going to talk about extra events. And also, I try to share everything that I can, with the way that I run games. And I hear a couple of things very often is that I'm a unique host, that people may have played this game before and they have not played it the way that I, run my games, and that people really enjoy this. And that's awesome. And I get a lot of people that ask me questions how I make the mechanics work. And I'm definitely down to talk about some of that. But just by listening in, you guys are going to get some of that as well. Whether you're a host or you're, just a trivia fan and you want to come out and check out one of my events. Anyway, there's a couple of things that I plan on doing here. I plan on having some teams on, not as interview guests or anything, but just as straight up co-hosts. Having some players that play regularly. We'll do a Zoom meeting and we'll kind of chat about whatever it is. And I've got some real characters too that play this game, and I would love to have them on and kind of take this discussion where it goes. So, 2023 is almost halfway gone, and where I look back to where I was when I first started doing this game, and I'm really amazed at stuff that's happened. Even just in this last year, I had tried to launch a new live stream and podcast, the Elevated Game Night, which is still something that I would love to do, but I just don't have the time or the manpower to kind of make it take off. And I don't know that the world is ready for that yet, unfortunately. And so that's kind of gotten by the wayside. But one of the main things in here that I do want to talk about is tournaments. Now, I've had a bunch of regular players pop in at games, and oftentimes they'll come up to me and say things like,
"Hey, dude, whatever happened with that tournament series you were gonna do?"
Or I'll hear things like,
"Bobby, how come we never did a tournament exactly? Why did you refund everybody?"
Well, here's the thing, guys. My goal for doing the tournament was to make it easier for the folks that wanted to do it. When I first started doing this game, some of you listening may remember I used to do a league, the Masshole Smartphone Trivia League, and even before that, it was the Pioneer Valley Smartphone Trivia League, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and initially the way it started was just sort of a way to get people that had that vested interest to kind of engage and follow along and kind of like build a little bit more excitement so that folks would talk about it. like social media is built around sharing things and engagement. It's kind of the same thing with local business. Like I was trying to get that trivia live experience to transition over to social media somehow. And it worked. It worked amazing. And I initially designed it, and what I've always tried to maintain is that this league or this tournament is never about these specific games. Like these games aren't closed off to the general public. Like everybody can play all at one time, and it's very loose and friendly, and each individual game is what it is. But I've devised ways to play with the scoreboard, to take records of the scoreboards, of the scores for each event, and list basically the teams in order of performance based on their stuff. And I've changed the way that things have happened. I mean, we started out with the league was a lot. I mean, if you look back in the day, we were doing, 4 seasons a year, spring, winter, summer, and fall. We would do every season. Like there was never an off season. It was always going. It was just, when was it going to rotate to the next one? And it got to be a lot. Like people could join for free. They could just sign up and join. And, if they won something, they won. Cool. It was a good time, and it grew unbelievably. Folks would get involved all over the place. But there's always this little section of people that they just didn't understand it, or they said they didn't have the time. And I understand. I mean, this kind of comes over to the fishing world too. Like I'm a recreational angler. I like to be outdoors and just enjoy myself outdoors and do those things. But I've got friends of mine that they got to compete. And I get that. I understand that those two things exist. So, after the league had kind of sort of dropped off and I stepped away from it, then the pandemic happened. I came back and I never brought anything back like that. But I did have individual situations where some of the establishments where I work would really hook me up very well with great prizes. And I had to come up with a creative way to, one, get mileage out of these prizes so that, the interest and the draw to get people to gather, especially coming out of the pandemic. Getting making that happen first was ideal. And then also a way to distribute the prizes. I just don't want to say, hey, the winner of this gets this tonight. And, some of these prizes we're talking about were we gave away, I think it was Backstreet Boys tickets, Machine Gun Kelly tickets. We gave away Dropkick Murphy. So we got concert tickets. I know we've had sporting events tickets, ski passes, all kinds of crazy stuff that we've done. And tournaments lean well into that. I just set up really, really like a micro tournament at one establishment that was doing this prize. And I've been wanting to put that element back there. And it's odd because the demand is certainly there. When I ask folks about it, everybody will tell me that they're super interested in it. So I had set up, this is going back, I guess last fall, I had set up a tournament series where I was going to run it across all establishments where I'm currently hosting games, where my games are housed. And basically it was going to be to track teams as they went on, and everybody loved it. And we had an absolute total of
two teams.
We had 2 teams that signed up, bought the ticket and did the whole thing. And, obviously I want there to be something for this. So a cash prize, a tournament, where you buy in is a good thing. But man, we only had 2 teams go and do it. Now, granted, my events were as packed as they normally are. I mean, nothing changed, but there just wasn't any participation. And both of these teams that signed up were crazy excited about it. They were really looking forward to it. But for whatever reason, there were just folks that did not sign up. So I made a call the week going into it. I decided, I was like, listen, nobody else has signed in. I want this to be exciting. It's got to be exciting. And let's be honest. I mean, what is it? Collectively, I think it's 8 or 9 people between both teams fighting it out for $100 is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. It just is. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. The additional work to provide all the hype for 2 teams, that's just nuts. So I refunded everybody. In fact, we actually did have a 3rd team sign up, but they signed up after. I couldn't believe that the ticket link worked. I refunded them immediately. So the message wasn't getting out there. So I decided to scrap the idea of the tournaments because it put the effort on you guys. You know, you had to go and sign up and, you know, put your team together. And I'm sure there was some hemming and hawing about, you know, is this really something that we have the time for? Or are we going to be around to do this for I think we were doing like 8 weeks or something like that, trying to really put it in its own compartment, you know, make it long enough to get some mileage out of, but short enough that folks aren't like, oh, I've got to do this for the next like 6 months. So we tried to, you know, play around with it a bit. Now, that was all well and good. I pulled the plug on it. Everything was great. And I do have another idea. Your boy Bobby Roastbeef is not about to allow things to go down like that. What I came up with essentially was something that I initially called the Bobby Roastbeef Winner's Circle. And to the player, the experience looks like this. To the player, each night at all of my events, where everybody's on the same page, we do prizes for first, second, and third place every single night. And, you know, what my goal was to award those teams their gift cards and then invite them to come and play in the winner's circle. Now, what the winner's circle would be a simple 10-question heads-up buzz-in classic. It's a different style of play. So I ask these folks, they're standing right in front of me. I ask them a question. They tap their buzzer and give me an answer if they know it, or they just let it go if they don't know it. The way it works is there's no agreeing or disagreeing like in the buzz in advance like I traditionally do. It's you get it right or you get it wrong. And if you get it wrong, you can't buzz in for the next question. So you got to be careful. I would do these very quick. So a 10-question game would last, I mean, it would last probably less than 10 minutes. Less than 10 minutes. We would just go through, do the game. Folks, it would give them something else to watch, because that's one element about my games that's interesting, is that I've got regulars that will pop in that never play, but they love to watch the game. They look at me every night and they're like,
"Hey, Bobby, I like to watch."
And I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. I like that. That's fine. So it would add something, but what that does for me is it lets me put a score at the end of the night of those individual teams that were in the winner's circle. So if I've got teams A, B, and C, and they're competing, and the top three in the winner's circle that night are C, A, and B, then I can list them on a scoreboard on my website. That gives me the hype element. That's what it does. It allows me to have, hey, we had a shakeup last night. So-and-so is here. And in the winner's circle of all the teams who have ever played across all of the venues everywhere, the scores, the numbers don't matter. It's do you win? Did you win a gift card? Then you're in the winner's circle. It creates a list of teams, and then it gives a score and a value to those so that I know who the top performing teams would be based on the wins that they had and how they performed in that heads up round. So that's how it looks to the player. They show up and they're just like, cool, I get this. What's happening in the background is this. Number one is that scoreboard, being able to promote that and being able to use that as a point to share on social media and as a point of engagement. In fact, on this show, it would be something that I plan on using when the pieces are in order to make this happen. What is it that makes this tricky or difficult to just go and start? I want prizes. I want prizes. I would love to just say, hey, all you got to do is just play this game anytime you want. And if you ever win a gift card ever, you're going to be in the winner's circle. And then at the end of each season, I could book an event. Now, my plan, my grand scheme is this, to book a special event like on a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon, something like that, something that almost anybody could attend. And it would be limited seating. There would be a maximum of like 15 or 20 teams that would be invited to show up, probably 15. And I would put this out there and invite those teams to appear. And what we would do is do the exact same thing. Now, these would be a separate speed quizzing game. It would just be additional, brand new. There would be no real advantages. In fact, it would probably be straight general knowledge to level the playing field a bit. You know, we'll definitely have some fun, but it'll level the playing field a bit. And ideally, what I want to do is give away $1,000 cash prize. That's my goal. Now, I know everybody thinks like I'm balling here, a trivia host money, but the reality of it is that no, I don't have the money to throw around for something like that. In fact, I have to be able to make money on this because it's taking up time on a weekend from potential stuff. So I'm in this unique situation where I can do something that's interesting and fun, but there's a lot of work on it that's kind of, needs to get done. So this brings me to the next sort of step or idea is sponsorships. And that's where the holdup is sponsorships. I have this sort of a sponsorship ladder set up where there are different value amounts per quarter. And in addition to, sponsoring money toward this, there's a couple of elements that I want to include. First off would be a kickback for the sponsors. They would get, advertising on my games, on the players' devices, on the live screens where we use them. And I am hoping to use more soon. But not only that, there would be a portion of that sponsorship money would go to a charity. And that's the other thing. Not only would the winner win $1,000 cash for their team, but they would also be able to donate, choose the charity rather, that the accoladed funds from the sponsorships would go to. So if they wanted to donate to the MSPCA, they could do that if they won. If they wanted to donate to a soup kitchen, they could do that if they won. If they wanted to donate to the Red Cross, they could do that. Whatever the charity is that they want, as long as the only stipulation is it would have to be a legitimate 501(c)(3), in my opinion. It would need to be a legitimate nonprofit that's, a trusted nonprofit, if we're going to donate this money, because every year that could be a good amount of money. My goal ultimately is to get there, and I am working on it. There is a lot of interest from a lot of businesses, but there is very, very, very little movement on anybody getting involved, actually like putting like the effort in to make a decision. They all love the idea, but nobody's really like making any moves here. So it makes it very challenging for me. So that's what we're working on as far as, the future goes, as far as I'll call it enhanced speed quizzing experience for the games that I play. So it would be an additional sort of event that we need to, work toward. And I think it would just be a whole lot of fun. I love the idea of being able to come on this show and talk about what's been going on at trivia, and also at the same time have a little bit of fun and kind of like, give some numbers about who's performing the best, who's, working out the best. And I think it could be really interesting. Now, I've got, other plans for rules and things. Like I said, I would invite like the top 15 to 20 teams. Well, in a quarter, in a 3-month window, we might have 50 different teams that play, that win gift cards. All you got to do, like I said, all you have to do is win once. So we're going to have a bunch that'll be floating down there at the end. And who's to say that the top 15 or 20 will all be available? I have a plan for that. Don't worry about it. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. I do have a plan for that. So it'll be an interesting one. And that's sort of where my head is with all of that. Tournaments, it's just not going to work. It puts too much of the real, I guess, the catalyst, like too much of the onus on you guys to have to buy in and do this in order to make it worthwhile. And that's the big difference too with the tournaments. Like I didn't make any money doing the tournaments there. With this event, I could charge, my regular rate for either, depending on the establishment or something. So even though it is an additional event, like it would still be in my best interest to do this as well. And I'm talking, when I say like a quarterly event, like going out, like there would be like, this would be an event you dress up for. This would be an event like I bust out like, all kinds of extras for. It would be way, way over the top and a lot of fun. And I think I would love to do that to trivia. I 100% would just love to do that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's take a quick break, guys. I'm going to come back in just a bit. I would like to talk about some of the stuff that I've been working on and what you can look forward to this summer. Hey guys, Bobby Roast Beef here from Jigs and Bigs. If there's one thing I can't stand spending money on, it's on something that's not versatile, something that I can't get a lot of use out of. I want to talk to you about Frost Buddy. what Frostbuddy is it's one of those can coolers. I've seen these before. In fact, I have some that are limited to only fitting one specific size of can, like a standard 12-ounce can. I stumbled onto Frostbuddy, and I was blown away with it. So versatile. Fits standard cans, tall cans, slim cans, and even 12-ounce bottles. And the magic is the insert fits all of these items in various stages within the insert. And when you take that out, you can fit a full 16-ounce tall boy can. In fact, it even doubles down on being versatile with the coffee lid. And on my recent trip to Chickamauga, I had a field day with this thing. I was throwing beer cans in it. I'd have coffee in the morning. On the drive, I was throwing in all different sizes of cans for different canned coffee products to keep me awake on the long drive back. The thing was amazing. So I recommend you check out Frostbuddy. If you're in the market for either a travel cup for your coffee or a can cooler at all, either one of those, check it out. For the money, you cannot go wrong. What I've done is this. In the show notes for this podcast you're listening to right now, if you look there, you'll find a link to Frostbuddy where you can get yours. And not only can you go and get your Frostbuddy there, but you can help out the show as well. Go and visit that link in the show notes to this podcast. Check out a Frostbuddy. Tons of colors, tons of patterns, all kinds of great stuff. And it's a great spot to put your jigs and big sticker too. Take it from me, Bobby Roast Beef. You're going to get the most versatility out of this one product, probably out of anything you're ever going to buy, especially for anything that you're drinking. Frostbuddy. It works for me. I'm a happy guy. Much better, guys. Much better. We're back. This summer is going to be insane. My schedule right now is Monday through Friday. Every single game starts at 7 p.m. I love that. I love that it's so open and universal, and it works kind of for everybody. They can all figure out what's going on. What's great about it? So actually, I'll go ahead and break down the schedule. So if anybody is curious where they can see me, I'm located in Western Massachusetts. On Monday evenings, I am at the Rumble Seat Bar and Grill, which is in Chicopee, Mass, 7 o'clock. And when I say 7 o'clock means that's when sign-in begins. I usually start the first round about 30 minutes after sign-in starts. So if, folks will roll in at, 6:15 sometimes, or they'll roll in expecting to start at 7 right away. And every single game since I've been doing it, it's just the way that it works in the promotions business. You got to get people in there. There's always going to be people that show up late. So first round at 7:30, we aim to get done by 9, typically. Tuesdays have seen a big shakeup. Tuesdays, last November, I started at a bar in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts called Craft 32. Now, what's interesting about Craft 32 is that they're going to be undergoing a name change to East Village Tavern. That's coming. They're basically just waiting for the sign to show up, I believe. So that is coming soon, but we've been killing it over there. 7 o'clock as well. It's been fantastic. Actually, that has been consistently a room of about 20 plus teams almost every single week. And it's been fantastic over there. I highly recommend you guys go check out Craft 32 in East Longmeadow. Wednesday is one of the OG games from pre-pandemic. Wednesday nights, I'm at Nathan Bill's, baby. Nathan Bill's, and those that go to Craft 32 might feel like Nathan Bill's and Craft 32 are kind of familiar. Each of them has a similar sort of feel, and that's because they're owned by the same company, owned by the same family, which is pretty awesome. I'm over at Nathan Bill's. Nathan Bill's is absolutely fantastic. We have been killing it over there for a long time, and it's just an absolute blast. They've got the seating to be able to back it up. The few times a year that we're outside on the patio over there, it is fantastic. And what's great is that they love to make sure that this game always happens. So if there's like a big sporting event or something, because this is more of a traditional bar room, if there's like a big game or something, or the crazy like holiday, like, on, like St. Patrick's Day, or they're doing, Cinco de Mayo or something like that. Even New Year's, it's happened before, where they'll just put me in their banquet facility that is right next door. Just literally there's a door from the bar right into the banquet space, which is awesome. I love hosting games in there. So we've definitely been in there, when we've needed to. It's awesome. Then on Thursdays, you can find me at 7 p.m. in Northampton, Massachusetts. Now, this is my only game right now in Hampshire County, and this game has been amazing. I have been at Well, really, I've been at Platform at longer than any of my current venues. I've been at Platform. I started there in 2015. Platform Sports Bar is a great space. We do our games in 2 locations now in Northampton. Again, it's like the building is very interesting. There's multiple areas, multiple bars within this one location, including a huge banquet facility, Union Station. But now seasonally outside, we are at the Deck Bar, which is fantastic. Right after everything was shut down during the pandemic, they came back with a giant tent, like one of the biggest I've ever seen locally. And they've got an outside sort of like cabana bar set up with seating that's remote out there. And Northampton was a town where during the pandemic, they were pushing for everything to be outside as much as possible. And we loved it. It was great. I mean, it got, we stuck it out that first year, I think, into like mid-November. It was something. We then moved indoors. They were a little reluctant to, but we moved indoors to Platform Sports Bar. And man, that first year was tough, because there were a lot of folks that did not want to come and play indoors. So we were doing some games over there that were pretty slow. But I'll tell you what, we've built that right back up. And now, I mean, all this year, it has been slammed over there. It's fantastic. So we have a lot of fun up there. I love my Thursday night games. It's an absolute blast. And that brings us to Friday. And Friday is kind of like, Friday's the most special game. I mean, I've been at Casa de Lisa in Feeding Hills since I think I started there in 2018. And it has been pretty fantastic. Lisa over there is wonderful. She's got a great staff. But what's unique about that spot is I wouldn't do speed quizzing or any trivia or any game night actually on a Friday night. Typically, a lot of it is dependent on the establishment. It's got to be the right sort of fit, the right sort of feel. And what's great about what's happening over at Casa de Lisa is that, now she's got the bistro room. The bistro room is her old banquet spot. What she does in there is the occasional private event, but in the bistro room, it's a lot more casual than at in the formal restaurant. It's a whole lot more casual. But what's great is you've got access to back then they had 2 separate menus, but you could order off of both. It was awesome. Now they've kind of like streamlined things a bit with their menu, and it's out of this world. I love the food. It's great, but it has the right kind of feel. It feels as if like you had a close friend that had a basement bar and they put a little bit of effort into it. Like they just wanted to be awesome. And that's what Casa de Lisa has. Also, you get a little bit of a different show at Casa de Lisa on a Friday because I'm generally pretty pooped by the time we get there, and I will have all of this ammunition of stuff that I will talk about from the previous games, like stupid answers and things like that. I love that stuff, and obviously I don't poke fun at people or anything like that specifically, but if we get some like dumb shit that happens, I absolutely freaking love it. Like, sometimes there's times where you just, you wonder what people are thinking. And this is one of those situations, you kind of wonder what people are thinking, and you're just like, what the hell is going on upstairs over there? What's going on? And I kind of, we'll reference some of that stuff. So you get a little bit more of an extra show. It's really intimate over there. It's very limited seating. So, I recommend that, you get there early to make sure that you get a table. The sort of unique thing about Fridays, and it's a very lucky situation for me is, because my business is events. There's events that pop up on Fridays quite often, and that's over there. It's on my end, but also on Lisa's end when it comes to, she might have a birthday party in there and they don't want to have me in there hosting trivia when they're trying to do a birthday party. She offers people that as an option, and I'll take Fridays off here and there. But what's great about Casa de Lisa is we've built it up to the point where now we can take that break or take a short break. Like the last, I was there last week, but recently I was off for 2 Fridays in a row. We came back and it was jamming. I mean, it was great. So that I feel really confident about that, and thank you guys. Also, locally, I have been taking the time off on Fridays during the Eastern States Exposition, aka the Big E. And it just makes life easier for everybody, and you don't have to worry about dealing with that traffic or anything like that, and it's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, so that's my schedule. That's what I have been doing this summer. I got to tell you guys, there's a couple of good things that I have lined up, and a lot of it I got to thank you for. Most importantly, I have to thank you. A lot of you have made great suggestions. So I have like music rounds. So everybody loves a music round, and I'll get to the music round in a bit. What's going on right now? But I have done a music round now for like the last 5 years. Like every single week, a brand new music round, something like that. And it's just it can be a bit much. And on deck, I've had a request for boy bands. We've done boy bands before, but I'm going to do another boy bands. It's been a while. We've had a request for that. I had somebody ask me about doing a Latin night, and I actually would love to do that. Most of these songs are going to be titles that are in Spanish, and that is there's a little like reward for me is the idea to finally hear some of you when you buzz in mispronounce things in a terrible way, as opposed to you hearing me do it nightly, because we all know that's a thing. But so there's a Latin night coming. You guys are way overdue to do another 90s hip hop night. I'm really interested in doing that. But I'm open to suggestion. If you guys have an idea, by all means, shoot me a DM over at Instagram, my account at Bobby Roastbeef. Shoot me a DM over there and throw me an idea of what you want to do. I mean, we've had some fun recently with it. Like we've done a new metal round. We've done we did some lullaby stuff. We've done some lo-fi beats. We've done and I try to do these music rounds. People get scared sometimes by the way I title them. I try to always select songs that people are going to know. In fact, there's talk about bringing a live music element to this. There is discussion in bringing that sort of element in. So I don't know how it's going to play out. We will see. It could be very exciting. But anyway, so you guys can certainly recommend some stuff, but I know that the boy band specifically, that's coming soon, and I think I kind of want to wait a little bit before I do the Latin stuff. I just want to make sure we're definitely outside for that one. I'd like to kind of do it when the season is right, like when we're in summertime. I also want to do a hair metal, like a 80s hair metal style round. And just have a good time with it. So there's lots of stuff that I am looking forward to doing. It's kind of funny. I mentioned my partner Bill from SpeedQuizzing USA. He's calling me right now. I'll have to call him right back. But so that's coming up this summer. Now let's talk about, and I'll wrap this up, guys. I don't want these shows to be super long. Let's talk about what's been going on right now with trivia in the music round. So last week I did a music round that was a request from one of you about, the request is simple. Bobby, can you hang on a second.
Bobby, could you possibly do some more country music, please?
And here's the thing about doing country music rounds. I have no problem doing those rounds whatsoever. However, they're very polarizing. A lot of people think they know nothing about country music, or they're just, I hate country. I get that all the time. It happens all the time. But you know what? I got to throw it into the rotation just to kind of keep things sort of fresh. Those folks that didn't like butt rock, they sat through the butt rock round all that week. And the folks that don't like, the mashups, they sat through the mashups through that whole week. So I try to keep things like as interesting as I can. So I put this round together. And this is back when I was in Vegas. And I was in Vegas and I said, well, how am I going to work in some country? But I want to kind of keep it interesting. So I stumbled upon this list from Vox. I think they're an online magazine. And they put together a list of 10 country songs that were designed for non-country fans. And I totally get that. That's awesome. I looked at the list and I personally thought it was hot garbage because it was a lot of typical pop country, You know, I mean, some of it was pretty decent. Like some of it was like, okay, like the songs were okay. But it was stuff that you could access. You could hear this stuff on country radio with no problem, except for one artist. That artist is Sturgill Simpson. And so once I saw that, I said, you know what? I'm doing this. Maybe, you know, hopefully because of the pop country stuff, it'll be easy enough where people will be able to get most of these things. But I'm like, also at the same time, maybe they're right. Maybe these are country songs that a non-country fan would love. And maybe somebody's going to get into this, you know? That didn't happen. For what it's worth, it did not happen, sadly. So what I did was I went through this round, and by the time Friday got around, I just couldn't do it. So this was last Friday, returning back to Casa de Lisa. I couldn't do it. I was so sick of this playlist of songs. I don't even have it in me. Now, we had one team who had come, and I said one team. We had one family who comes and they play as 4 separate individuals. They had all been exposed to this game already, to this round. So that meant that they weren't able to buzz in. They could only agree and disagree. We had another team that came in, and they hadn't played yet that week, but they don't give a shit. They don't care. So I'm like, okay. And everybody else was brand new. Everybody else in that room, they were all brand new to trivia. So I just said, screw it. I'm just going to go general knowledge, keep it nice and even. It's, you know, and we'll see how it goes. And it was exciting. It was so good. So I decided that all this week, the week of what it was today is the 24th, Wednesday, May 24th. We started on the 22nd. I've just been doing straight general knowledge this week, kind of like as a palate cleanser. Yeah, think about it like that. It's like a palate cleanser. So I'm utilizing that round as a way to kind of but I'm keeping the same point structure, by the way. You know, I'm doing 10 points for the first 10 questions and then doubling that in the second half. So it's been pretty good. Like, it really has. It's been a lot of fun. I think I might keep this in my pocket. I've been debating the idea of doing a schedule, maybe where like, week 1 of the month, I do music. Week 2 of the month, I do general knowledge. Week 3 of the month, I do a picture round. And then the 4th week of the month, I do more music. I'm considering doing it like that, like creating some kind of a schedule. Because that's another thing too. I would love to create, more picture rounds. I really should do something more with that, but it's just getting curious and, you know, getting, you know, coming up with a theme. Is more of the difficult element than actually putting the round together. Really is coming up with something that's kind of clever and a playlist or a collection of images or something like that. So we'll have to fool around and see what we can get, but it should be interesting. Lastly, before I leave you guys for this show, I got to tell you guys this. All right. So, and this is kind of a big deal. So, at a couple of venues, primarily my Tuesday and Thursday venues, there have been some connectivity issues. Now, a lot of folks will run up to me, especially if they're new players, but lots of folks will run up to me between rounds and say, hey, I can't connect. This is going on. This is my advice to you guys if you want to know a little bit of inside info of what you can do to help your situation if you're having connectivity issues at an event. Now, a lot of people think, oh, there must just be something wrong with the Wi-Fi. If there is just something wrong with the Wi-Fi, every device that's in there would disconnect. And we've had situations where that's the case. That does absolutely happen. There are situations where that's the case. Occasionally, it's, you know, could be a network like crowding on a specific channel, or other times it could just be something that's not a Wi-Fi network, but that's in that frequency range. That can happen from a variety of different, I guess, electronics. And it can be a challenge, you know, and it can be intermittent too. That's the thing. It's not always consistent. So it's a little bit tricky on my end. Now, there is something that SpeedQuizzing has kind of brought to the forefront here. They've been using this small, super compact router for quite a while. And generally speaking, for about, 95% of these situations, that's going to do the job just fine. It really is. But they've introduced a new router. And not that this is a cure-all, because it's 100% not. Because, like I'm about to say, like, there are things that you can do that are more device oriented that could help you. What this router does do is it allows me to easily connect an extender completely wirelessly and create like what they would call a mesh network. So I can set up multiples of these in different areas and extend coverage in a specific direction. I can kind of move this extender over to a specific side that's maybe a little bit weaker and get a little bit more reach in there that's a little bit stronger. Now, what's cool is that, like, I believe your phone, your app will automatically connect to the strongest, which is nice, and it should not interrupt a thing. The issue that the reason why I'm taking so long to implement this is that I need confidence that there's one thing about this router that will change for the connection process. There will actually be, when you join the network, there will be a PIN number that you have to enter in order to connect to the Wi-Fi network. And because of the laptop that I use, I just need to make sure that that port number isn't going to change. I just need to make sure that it's consistently the same PIN number so that people will get the routine, because that's one more announcement and one more step. And you guys wouldn't believe it if I told you, but there are 3 simple steps to connect to traditionally the way we've been currently playing. And sometimes even the most brilliant people, it is like pulling teeth getting them to do those 3 steps correctly. I speaketh the truth. It is 100% like pulling teeth in some situations. Folks just don't do the instructions in order. So adding another step, another PIN number, it's just going to confuse people. It is a little bit easier, I will say this, with the use of a live screen, because I can put information up there and it makes it a little bit more passive. I'm still going to have to answer questions, but probably nowhere near as much. But in some of those situations, and I'm looking at you, the deck, in certain situations where we don't have a live screen, it makes it a little bit tricky, you know? So I got to do some testing and get some confidence that we're good to go here. And there's nothing's going to, throw a curveball in there and the PIN number is going to change randomly. So I just want to know that everything's set. Once that's the case, we will be in business, but we will get there. Now, as far as things that you can do if you're experiencing dropouts, weak Wi-Fi, it's, quote, kicking you off, there's a couple of things that can certainly help you. Lately, what we've run into is that lots of teams will say, oh, I'm not getting a picture. I'm not getting the picture delivered to my phone. And lots of times what happens is that you're not on the most current app on your phone. So it's always just a good practice to go to your app store every once in a while if things are looking weird in between rounds, and check and make sure there's not a SpeedQuizzing update. It's free to update. It'll update quickly. And once you're updated, it'll save all your stuff. You can just open the app and hit connect. You're good to go. All your stuff is going to stay where it is, but it will update the app for you and you'll be in business. So that's one of the things that you can for sure do to help you out. Second thing is that you can restart your phone. There have been situations in the past where I've had 4 to 6 devices out of like 25, and 4 or 6 of them can't connect for one reason or another. And or let me correct that. They do connect, but they're having dropout issues here and there. And lots of times it's just because your phone has a lot of stuff going on in the background, and it's basically disrupting the connection to the quiz network. So a simple restart of your phone can oftentimes just be a simple quick fix to be good to go. Now, the last thing is this, and this is an important one, and it used to only really affect Android users, but it has in the last couple of years become a situation for Apple users as well. And I know when you're hanging out at a bar, having fun with your friends, having some drinks, eating some food, playing some trivia, and you have these breaks in the middle, you grab your phone. And you go on your phone and you mess around and you probably get off the Wi-Fi network, and then you reconnect afterwards and just hit connect and you're good to go. So with Android devices for a very long time, it has always tried to have you connected to the internet so that this way your apps like your weather app and your location services and everything else, like it was trying to have connection to the network so it could get a little bit of a fix. And what would happen is an Android user would connect and it would take a minute, you'd have to sit and let it do its thing, but it would give you a pop-up And that pop-up would basically say, holy shit, there is no internet here. What am I going to do? And it would give you an option to either stay connected or to disconnect from it. And if you just hit stay connected, in fact, some versions of Android will have a box where you can say, remember this action or something similar. You can check that box and hit it. And what it will do is then say, okay, you want to stay connected here. You're good. With Apple, it's a little bit different. Apple will allow you to connect with no issues. You'll go ahead and get started, but you'll get a pop-up on your screen at one time or another that will say, there's no internet here. What are we going to do? And it gives you two options. And the first option is to use cellular data. The second option is to continue trying Wi-Fi. Now, intuitively, it sounds like the correct option would be to hit connect Wi-Fi or to stay on Wi-Fi. If you hit use cellular data, it will kick you off, but when you rejoin, you will be good to go. And the reason is this, because it will use your cellular data for all that background stuff, or that weather app, your location services, your any of the stuff that needs a little bit of trace internet network, some network to be connected. That's what you're going to get from that. But it will allow the SpeedQuizzing app to stay connected to the quiz network. And again, that's a connection point. There's no internet on that. Despite the fact that it's Wi-Fi, there's no internet on that Wi-Fi network. So that's that. There are a couple of quick things that you can do if you, overall, if you're experiencing something. Sort of what I call the cheap and easy fix is to just put your phone in airplane mode and then reconnect that Wi-Fi network. Doing so seems to just sort of like mute all that other stuff. Like, oh no, it's in airplane mode. It's fine. Just keep an eye on it. But the reason why I bring up the breaks, like I did a few moments ago, the breaks in between, people go on their phones. Oftentimes they come back in a round two and they didn't do the steps that they needed to get connected for round one, to go so smooth. Now they're in a buzzing round and they're all hyped up and, hey, maybe they went outside the parking lot and, smoked a doober or something like that. And they're not exactly thinking right. And they come back in and they're just like, oh, now it's not working. It must be a Wi-Fi issue. No, lots of times when it's that late in the game, it's because you forgot to do the steps that you needed to do in order to connect for the best experience possible. That's what it is. That's all it is.
That's all it ever frickin' is.
Guys, that about does it for me on this episode of the 10-second podcast. Funny, I call it the 10-second podcast, but this is 45 minutes almost. So I should say this much, that the title, you guys are all going to ask, why is it the 10-second podcast? It's this long. The 10-second podcast is a nod to the 10-second timer of the show. That's what it's all about. That's all it is. It's a little nod to the 10-second timer that's on the show. I appreciate you guys. Remember, BobbyRoastBeef.com is the website where you can check out my entire schedule of events. I've been trying to book them and list them about 3 months out. So any changes that are on there will, show up accordingly. Of course, follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook. Specifically, Instagram is where you're going to get the up-to-the-minute changes. If something's going on and you need to know about it, go ahead and follow me there. I would love to do another giveaway. I really would. Maybe I should just do one. I don't know. Why don't you guys shoot me a DM? Let me know if I should do one. Let me know. When I ask this stuff all the time, do me a favor, guys. DM me any local businesses that you think I should talk to. Not large umbrella, whatever. I'm talking about specific companies that you would love for me to work with so that we can get this winner circle stuff off the ground and running. And then also so that, I can do some partner stuff and some giveaway stuff on social media. I think that would be exciting. Maybe I'll do one on Facebook too. I don't know. Shoot me a message, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you. And as always, remember, sign in for trivia starts at 7 p.m. First round begins at 7:30. I'll see you for trivia. You guys have yourself a good one.